ಕಲ್ಪನೆಯ ರಾಶಿಯಲಿ ಭಾವನೆಯ ಪಾಶದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರಳ ನಟಿಹೆ ನಾನು ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ಪನೆಯ ರಾಶಿಯಲಿ ಭಾವನೆಯ ಪಾಶದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರಳ ನಟಿಹೆ ನಾನು ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಸಾಧ್ಯವೇ ಸತ್ಯ ಎಂದು ನಂಬಿ ಬದುಕಿದೆ ಗೆಲ್ಲಿ ಅಸಾಧ್ಯವೇ ಸತ್ಯ ಎಂದು
I'm sitting with Mr. D.B. Gangolli in Bangalore, and it's April the 4th, 2003, and we're going to talk about some questions, and these questions are designed to unfold the teachings of Ramana Maharshi as set out in his original booklet, Who Am I and Self-Inquiry, for the book Blueprints for Awakening. Yes. Mr. Gangolli, the first question, Ramana proposed the fundamental question, who am I? Who are you?
Yes, it's one of the most powerful questions and very popular questions known all over the world in the spiritual circles. And Ramana Maharshi himself was a very great sage of India who hit upon a method of taking any person directly towards, the ego, the I notion. In Vedanta of Shankara, we can explain this in slightly different way, but with full force, what sort of a powerful question he had put. And many people couldn't answer that by themselves. And Ramana, being a Siddha Purusha or a sage, a spiritual teacher also, he could give them certain tips how to go about analyzing this I, and in the process, in due course of time, go behind the ego. And behind the ego is the Sakshi Chaitanya, as the Vedantins call it, the pure consciousness. It is also called as Sat Chit Ananda in Vedanta. Sat means pure absolute existence, and Chit means pure absolute consciousness or knowledge, and Ananda means pure absolute bliss. We have got these three words: existence, knowledge or consciousness, and happiness. In the dual world, people understand these three things in three different ways. They are not equal, they are not synonyms. But in Vedanta, these three are used as in the form of, say, A is equal to B is equal to C is equal to A is equal to C. So they are three words borrowed from duality, but they mean the same thing. Pure existence means pure consciousness only, and pure consciousness means pure bliss only, and pure bliss means pure existence only. All the three words borrowed from the dual world of duality, given some special significance, rolled into one, they mean and point to the same reality, absolute reality, called Atman, Brahman in Vedanta. Now, Ramana Maharshi, when he was asking this question, who am I? Instead of giving all the details, which are known to the people, that I is in the world, he is born with a body, and he is having some dealings in this body, in this world, with this body, and all that, which is known to everybody. And that there is no need to say anything about that. What is known to everybody, should you write any big book about it? There is no need. So he was referring to this I which is a projection of the Sakshi Chaitanya. He knew that this I is, in a manner of speaking, a doorway to know, cognize its very source. That is the pure consciousness. So he adopted a method and went on asking, have you, anybody going to him, he would put this question, have you tried to know, analyze, have you concentrated your mind and tried to know who this I is? And then he had a method of self-inquiry which is given in his books and all that. But much more than that, in Vedanta, Shankara, who came much before Ramana, Shankara was a teacher belonging to a very ancient tradition, coming down from Narayana himself, that is Bhagavan. And in Gita, Krishna says, this I gave it to Vivasvata, then he gave it to Manu, Manu gave it to Ikshvaku, Ikshvaku gave it to so-and-so, 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 and then it has come down to Arjuna, he says. Now I am again giving it to you. So like that, the complete line of teachers, which is called as Parampara, is given in the Gita. So same way here, perhaps, Raman Maharshi was referring to some of these things, and he was taking a person straight away to this ego. And he had his methods. But in Vedanta, this ego is beautifully, described by Shankara as adhyasa. Adhyasa means misconception, mithya gnana, mithya pratyaya. These are the Sanskrit words. They mean the same thing, misconception or wrong knowledge. Wrong, it's a misconception, wrong knowledge, delusory. But unfortunately, it happens to be the very focal point of all empirical transactions. So naturally what happens is, many people, many people in the world, they do not know how to analyze this I. In Vedanta, Shankara has written about this adhyasa, some 3 pages as an introduction to Brahma Sutras, and there he says it's a very peculiar combination of the reality and the false appearance. So naturally, it's a reality and unreality. Atman and Anatman, those are the words which are used. So these have somehow been combined together, and the child born out of the unholy marriage, let us say, is this ego. Beautifully put. So this ego is the effect of a combination of 2 things which are totally opposed. You can never find such things in duality, in the empirical world. Yet in Jiva himself, the ego itself, there is a combination of the truth and the false appearance. This ego itself is a false appearance. And when this is taught by the Vedanta Shastra, and Shankara gives this, it is rather difficult to understand. But once you understand this, it opens up all the, like a master key, opens up the doors of the treasure trove of Vedanta. So naturally, what happens is, this ego, if it is a combination of 2 things, opposed things, completely opposed, reality and unreal thing, phenomena. And if there can be a combination like that, it will be very highly delusive. So he doesn't use the illusory word. Illusory, I differ, I differentiate between illusion and delusion. In the sense, delusion is subjective, illusion is objective. If this is understood properly, avidya is subjective delusion or adhyasa. And the world outside, in front of me, is Mayik, that is illusory. And Shankara's beautiful expression is, Maya is avidya kalpita, avidya pratyupasthapita. That means a person who has got avidya, he can always see the world. Because this ego has got the means of, cognition of the duality outside world. So naturally, this triad is there in us. The cognizer, the means of cognition, and the cognized world. And according to Vedanta, ego is, to be analyzed. And if you know ego very well, there is no need for you to analyze the outside world. For the simple reason, the outside world, in a manner of speaking, is a projection of the ego. The mind is so powerful, as you can see in the dream, the mind itself has projected its own world in Tejas Atma. And that is the basis for Vijnanavada of Buddhists. Anyway, here, the ego becomes a focal point on which the whole of duality hinges. And if you can somehow try to analyze this ego and separate it from this triad, the outside world, comes after. The very fact that unless there is an ego, there is no world. Because the ego is the subject which is aware of the world of duality. So naturally, if the ego turns its attention away from the world and turns towards its very source, and that ego, that mind is called the introverted mind, and then it merges in its very source, because it's the part and the subtlest part of the mind. And this is the very basis of Vedanta. And adhyasa, which is nothing but misconception or delusion, though it is in the experience of everybody, the moment you cognize it as delusion, it never continues to be a delusion. It is just like a spell. As long as the person is under the spell, he doesn't know that he is under a spell. Whatever is dictated to him by the person who is controlling his mind, he does it. But the moment he comes to know, I am under a delusion, it is no longer a delusion. Same way here, the moment we are able to know that this I itself is delusory, on the strength of the knowledge of the reality, just as in that example, the moment you came to know the reality of the rope, the falsity of the snake is automatic, spontaneous, instantaneous. There is no exercise, nothing extra to be done to know the falsity of the snake. It disappears actually. It goes out of existence. Same way here. The moment you come to know the falsity of the ego, on the strength of the reality of the pure consciousness, the world goes out of existence. And ego also becomes falsified, sublated.
Mm-hmm. So, when Ramana was asked, when will the realization of the self be gained, he replied, when the world, which is what is seen, has been removed, there will be realization of the self, which is the seer. So, what you've been explaining is what is the true understanding of the world. You've been explaining that, and you've been explaining that how to remove the world is an instantaneous occurrence as soon as the ego drops.
See here your wording. I will read it. Fifth one, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
When Ramana was asked when will the realization of the self be gained? Yes, actually we have to be very careful. S small means jiva. S capital is the self.
Right.
So naturally, there should not be any confusion about that.
Well, it should be a capital S.
Yes, capital.
Yeah.
He replied, when the world which is what is seen has been removed, at that time, there will be, that's what he said, that is called realization, isn't it? Now, here there is a little of confusion. I don't know how this, who coined this question and how Ramana answered this in this fashion. The world actually in Vedanta, according to the Vedanta, if the ego itself is delusory, and if the world is illusory, and delusion projects illusion, there is no question of getting, now what remains for us to do is to get rid of the delusion. Automatically, as I said just now, spontaneously, the illusion goes out of this thing. When the cause is removed, do you mean to say the effect will remain? Same way here. So there is, world, really speaking, is more delusory than the ego. Because it is far away from us. And it is something outside us. Here at least we have got something very close to us, intrinsic. As long as the I is there, the world is there. This is a universal experience. When the I is not there, the world can never come into existence. The belief that we have got, that I was born in this thing, is born out of avidya. That's a belief. But here, when the Shastra tells us to analyze, see for yourself. If the I is not there, do you think there is any duality? In other words, I is the very focal point on which the whole of duality is hinging now, mounted, sort of superimposed. So, if this delusive ego is got rid of, or if you analyze it, how it came into being, what is it? When compared to, the reality, the absolute reality which Vedanta talks about, then, even this ego has gone out of existence in our deep sleep. And nobody will be able to say in deep sleep there is duality of any kind. It is absolute, absence of duality. In other words, it is non-duality, it is pure consciousness which can never be understood by the mind. It can be intuited, and intuition is given to us by the scriptures, how to intuit and all that. So naturally this question, I am a little surprised that this question, Ramana could have, if he wanted to use the Vedantic method, he could have said, you are asking a question about a thing which doesn't exist. Where is the question of getting rid of it? Is there any, sense in my getting rid of that snake that I saw? Did I do any effort to get rid of the snake? No. The moment I came to know the reality of the rope, automatically at that very moment, instantaneously, the snake is no longer real, nor it ever existed. Same way here. The moment I come to know the reality of this I, wherefrom it was projected, its very source, that is the pure consciousness, the world of duality was never there. It was an illusion, and now it has gone, it had never any, existence at all. That way Vedanta tackles. And hence, there will be realization of the self which is the seer. To this extent, the realization, the seer, what he means, seer is the pure consciousness, the witnessing consciousness. He has called it as seer, witnessing consciousness. We use the word witness. You can also say he is the seer. All this duality is something seen by him, but never outside him. He pervades and illumines it, illumines whatever is there in front. That is the capacity of the pure consciousness. It can never keep anything outside it. Take for instance, creation. Creation was a pretext for the scriptures to turn our attention towards the Creator. That was the only purpose for which it, taught us all creation. Not with the intention of saying creation is also, real, the creator is also real, his means of creation also is real. If this were so, there were questions, asked by many people. The creator, is he a upadana karana or a nimitta karana? In cause, in the logical world, they use this upadana karana means the material cause, and nimitta karana means a conscious, like a carpenter or a potter. He is an efficient cause. An efficient cause is always alive, aware, like a potter or a carpenter. He can design it and all that sort of thing. He may do it, he may not do it, he may do it in a different way, different shapes and all. But the material cause is inert. It is the raw material with which, the pot is made. So naturally both are causes. The material cause, the raw material, the man who does it, fashions it. So naturally, these are pertaining to the cause. Upadana karana, nimitta karana. When it comes to the Sakshi Chaitanya or the Ishvara, the creator, we Vedantins say he is both, which can never happen in the empirical world. The Upadana karana can never become the efficient cause. The efficient cause can never be the Upadana karana. Here, the Ishvara himself became the Jiva. He entered into this body. He created from the outside, the creation is given in a very graphic manner. He combined all the 5, elements, then prepared the body. Then he saw it was inert. If I don't enter into it, it will never become, sentient. So naturally, to make it animate and, sentient, he entered into it, beautiful explanation of creation. But this creation, having created it, the Brahman said, now I have satisfaction, I have done everything beautiful well. This human being is alive and I have become this and I know everything is, I am everything. And that way he got the satisfaction and withdrew his creation. So like that, creation is a pretext in Vedanta for the scriptures and the teachers to turn our attention towards the Creator. And once that purpose is served, the rescinding process, the subsequent rescission process starts. That is not there, that is not there. So neti starts. So naturally, this is how Vedanta, tackles this problem. Yes?
So, a different question.
Yes?
Many Western seekers come to India looking for enlightenment as if it is an experience. What is enlightenment?
Enlightenment. Good question. Enlightenment is a synonym for your beatitude, liberation, and then self-knowledge, intuitive experience of the self. All these expressions are there. Actually, enlightenment means, it is a knowledge of the reality, absolute reality. This enlightenment happens to be the very core of our being, and which is called as liberation, moksha, in Vedanta. So a person who is self-realized or who has attained self-knowledge, that means the intuitive knowledge of the self, not the mental, not the intellectual. It is the intuitive knowledge. To differentiate, we have used that word intuitive. That is pure consciousness as the self, Satchit Ananda. If this is called enlightenment, it has to be an experience. It is nothing to be believed in. It is completely, in the Gnanakanda, we talk about universal experiences and comprehensive, consummate experiences, Purna. So naturally, this is something which is Purna, means, it pervades everything. There is nothing outside this. So naturally, this is an experience which is which happens to be the very core of our being. All human beings can experience this. In fact, every moment of our life, this experience of the witnessing consciousness is there behind the ego, and it is supporting it, and that's why it is so conscious and powerful in the empirical world.
There is some conflict in this word experience, because I understand what you're saying. It
Yes.
has to be an experience.
Yes.
But implicit in the word experience is something that comes and goes, yeah? That it's for
Yes.
some time.
Yes, that
And what you're pointing to is our very nature. So it's an internal, it's totally eternal. It doesn't come and go.
That experience word smacks of immediately any person thinks of an experience has to be with an experiencer.
Yeah.
Experiencer with the means of experience and the experienced thing. So this is the empirical, sort of, experience. But here, when we use the word experience, it is not in that sense.
Right.
Here, at best, we can say it is an experience universal without the experiencer. Or you can also say it is the triad of the experiencer, means of experience, the experience object, all three rolled into one. And that is called pure consciousness.
Are there any qualifications for enlightenment?
We can answer this question in two ways, yes and no. If enlightenment, as I just now said, if it happens to be our very essential nature, where is the question of any qualification? For what? And that way there is no sadhana also. There is no practice to be done, no qualification to be had. If you only look at your very core of your being, you are that. You are is the word. Whether you know it or not is a different matter. But you are that. That means, the ultimate absolute reality. If that is so, then, you mean to say any Tom, Dick and Harry can get this experience automatically without doing anything? No. He is very much in this, dual world as the ego. And the ego is naturally extroverted. It is always going towards, through the intellect, mind, memory, mind and five senses in contact with the world. This is called the triputi or the triad. This triad cannot be broken. Any one of it cannot be selected, leaving the other two. See for yourself. The ego is always to be found along with these other two. And if the ego becomes introverted, the other two which are outside it, they, go out of existence. The ego is directed towards the source now. That is how we go. So naturally, here the qualifications are only for the chitta shuddhi. And chitta shuddhi means, the mind which is extroverted, it has to be given certain exercises like karma yoga and some, purificatory sadhanas are there mentioned in the Gita. Karma yoga, then, that is called paramita sadhana. And the sakari sadhana, that means, like amanatva, dambitva, that means, humility, practice humility, and, never be greedy and all that sort of thing. About 20 qualities are mentioned in the Gita. These are all to be practiced, positively to get the mind introverted. And the introverted mind is directed towards its very source, and it is called, in Vedanta, mumukshutva. So unless a person qualifies himself as a mumukshu, he will not be qualified to have enlightenment.
Is that the same as a sattvic mind?
Yes. Sattvic mind, naturally, it turns away or it minimizes the rajas and tamas aspect of it, the three will always be there. Like the triad, the three gunas will always be there. But the person who is a mumukshu will try to keep maximum of sattva. Whatever little that rajas and tamas remains, it is only for the vyavahara. But mostly he is sattvic and his mind is so very subtle, introverted and concentrated. It can think in terms of, analyzing, all the teachings of the Vedanta, Shastra. And naturally it can concentrate on even on the self. It is an introverted mind, concentrated and very powerful in its discriminative faculty. So naturally those are the qualifications.
So, for example, you're saying that there is a preparation needed.
Yes.
What would be your advice? What kind of preparation would you suggest to achieve a quiet, introverted mind?
You see, Gita has given a wonderful distinction. Upanishads also have told us, usually man, some people, who are full of sattva guna, they would like to do some charity. Yagna, dana, tapas. Yagna means, sacrifice. And some rituals which are conducted when you try to give up all that you possess. They are mentioned, in the Upanishads and the mythology also. Yagna. You perform certain yagnas where you call some people and give them presents and all that. So that is yagna. Dana. Dana means, charity. Tapas means austerity. Sitting for meditation for long period and chastening the mind or cleansing the mind. All such sadhanas are mentioned in the Upanishads. There can be, many people are doing that. In Gita, Karma Yoga is given as a wonderful exercise. And Karma Yoga is a sadhana which can be any person, human being, with a little discriminative power, he can do that. And it should not be difficult for him, because there are 4 aspects of it. He has to give up the hankering after the fruits of action. He must accept any work that comes to his lot as worship towards God and offer it as his worship. Work itself that has come to his lot, he offers it as worship of God, Ishvara. Then he has to give up his attachment, identification with the ego, minimize it. And then, sangatyaga, attachment. Attachment towards the outside thing must be minimized. So if these 4 qualities are there, introduced in karma, whatever you do karma, it becomes a karma yoga. And in the process, he becomes an introverted person and a qualified person for the self-knowledge. And after that, there is what is called as sakshat sadhana. Sakshat sadhana is shravana, manana, nididhyasana. These 3 must be carried out, in the presence of an adept teacher. He explains to you the interpretations of the Upanishads. You listen to it. Then he makes you do reasoning based on that, those teachings. You do a lot of reflection, introspection on that. And further intensive contemplation on those things is called nididhyasana. This is, as self-inquiry is a direct
But what
Ramana has said, same way these are direct sadhanas.
But these last sadhanas that you mentioned,
Yes.
isn't that going to increase the activity of the mind rather than quieten the activity of the mind?
No, that is as you go on, that's for that very reason perhaps some of the people don't go through the Upanishads and this and that. You see, in fact, all the Upanishads teach you adopt a method of superposition precision, and in the process they take the mind away from the dual world, direct it towards the ego, direct it towards the self, the very source of all duality, the non-dual reality. So naturally, it is it won't confuse you. In fact, it brings about conviction. And you will get convinced this is the reality, not this. So that kind of discrimination is given. The crest jewel of discrimination you have heard, that's a very powerful, Vivek Chudamani. So naturally, discrimination is very important in Vedanta. But in the process, the mind becomes concentrated. It directs all its energies towards the pure consciousness. It ends up there. It's an experience ultimately. So naturally, it is, very important.
Ramana said self-inquiry is the most direct route to realizing the self. What do you say about self-inquiry?
How to conduct self-inquiry.
Well,
Same, just now I told you.
Yeah.
Here you have used the word self as capital.
Yes.
So it's correct.
Yeah.
So self-inquiry means naturally the Upanishadic way of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. When you do that under the guidance, tutelage of a seasoned, adept teacher, he teaches you how to, go stage by stage, as it were, from the giving up the ego, identification with the ego, and, be one with the, the self, which is our very essence of being. For instance, let me take the example of the 3 states. So the teaching is, they analyze the waking state in a different way than we have understood. Then they turn the attention towards the dream, then towards the deep sleep. First, a sort of by way of superimposition, a relationship is built up between the 3. And, it is said that the waking and the dream are projections of something, which is in the seed form in the deep sleep. So all 3 are, connected. So there is the cause there, these are the effects. And then, slowly, that very Upanishad, the teacher slowly, and the Upanishad also teaches you, these 3 are independent, not connected at all. The superimposition of the connection or relativity, that is rescinded now. So, and it is also supported by universal experience. When we are in the waking, we don't have deep sleep or deep dream. When you are in the dream, waking is not there, deep sleep is not there. When we are in the deep sleep, waking and dream are not there. Nobody has got that experience overlapping. 2 states, overlapping. Yet, we talk in terms of 3. How can it be? They are not in three in one same time and same space series. So naturally, they are independent, experiences that are projected by the Sakshi Chaitanya for your benefit, to know him, and they are rescinded also by him. They are taken away from you. And all the 3 are projections, superimpositions on the Sakshi Chaitanya. If that is realized, the teaching is completed. So naturally, this...
Could you explain in a step-by-step way this Vedantic method of self-inquiry?
Yes. It is a self-inquiry, S capital,
Right.
inquiry. And according to the Shastra, it is actually a sort of giving up your identification with the self, the ego.
Small self, yeah.
And switching over to the identification with the self, which is your very essence of being, that you can never give up. This is, it is superimposed on that. So naturally, when you come to know this is real and this is, just a projection, which is a false projection, misconception. And that is called, self-knowledge, self-realization. So Vedanta, teaches us self-inquiry as capital, and in the process, it analyzes everything that we have understood about the small self, the jiva. And according to the Vedantic science, Jiva himself is the Paramatman. Paramatman himself has projected as the Jiva. There are no two things at all. Neither, the rope itself is appearing as the snake. The snake is not there apart from the rope, independently. Same way here, Jiva can never exist apart from, independently, apart from the self, the Sakshi Chaitanya. This is Vedantic teaching.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It has been suggested that the mind must be destroyed for liberation to occur. Do you have a mind?
You see,
Gangolli?
this is also a question which is wrong.
Right.
Of course, it has been put, so we have to answer. It has been suggested that the mind must be destroyed. You see, mind, at present, it appears to be there. Mind means ego. The subtlest aspect of the mind is ego. And the intellect is there. The memory aspect of it is there. So mind means all these four aspects. Ego, the buddhi, that is the intellect, then the memory aspect of it, the volitionary, all these comprise, the mind. Now, we in the empirical sphere, we accept the mind to exist, isn't it? But when we come to know the reality of the self, mind is not there at all. Never it was there. So naturally, the mind must be destroyed. There is no question of destroying a thing which really doesn't exist, just as the world also. World can exist only when the ego is there. Without the ego, the world can never be experienced, can exist also. So same way here, the mind cannot exist apart from the self. It's a projection, but at the same time it's a misconception, false appearance. So there is no question of destruction of the mind. This mononasha, which many people talk about, and of course you have said, Ramana Maharshi also has used it. Mononasha is not the correct word. Mononigraha can be said. Mononigraha means, you give up the identification with the mind, grasping anything. And when there is no grasping, the grasper also is not there. When the grasped thing, that is object, is not there, the subject also goes out of, grahakatva, grahyatva. That is the Gaudapada's terminology. When the grahya, that is, grasped, comprehended, that is not there, the comprehender also goes out of existence. The subject-object relationship. So naturally that is mentioned in the Mandukya, and Vedantic treatment is quite different from this. Mononasha is not we don't accept mononasha. And a thing which never existed in the ultimate analysis, where is the question of destruction?
Thank you. What about vasanas, the tendencies of the mind? Must these be removed before self-realization can become permanent?
What about vasanas? Vasanas are latent impressions.
What, sorry?
Vasanas means latent impressions.
Yes. Yeah.
These latent impressions are taught to us in Vedanta in a beautiful manner, with a sort of it's a vicious circle. According to Vedanta, as long as you have got avidya, ignorance of the self, the ego will be there. Avidya itself is adhyasa. So the ego will be there. And ego without any kamana. Kamana means desires. Can you find? Never. An ego without desires can never be found. Ego is always a bundle of desires, so to say. And if you analyze the ego properly according to the Vedantic Shastra, it's a bundle of desires. And these desires, when they become very powerful, they prompt you into action, because it is desire towards acquiring something from the outside world. So he is prompted to take to action. Go there, procure it, secure it, and then possess it, take it in his possession and all that sort of thing. So naturally, kamana, desire, leads to karma. Karma leads to karma phala. Any karma if you do, good or bad, it has to yield its fruit. Action has its fruit. So that fruit, when it comes, whether it is good or bad, you yourself, who is the agent of action, has to enjoy it. So naturally what happens is, when you enjoy the fruit, bhoga, hence this kartru himself becomes the bhoktru. Bhoktru means the enjoyer. And he enjoys the fruit. In his mind, there is a latent impression created, and that's called the vasana. And the vasana is lurking. We can use the word in the unconscious mind or in the mind as a latent impression. And when it becomes very powerful, when the congenial conditions outside in the world are there, that very vasana comes to the surface in the form of a desire. And again the vicious circle. This is samsara chakra. But unless and until you tackle the avidya, which is root cause for all this samsara tapatraya, and get rid of that avidya, ignorance, by gnana, vidya, this will continue. But really speaking, this is again a superimposition, as I said. So naturally, vasanas, what about vasanas I have described, according to Vedanta? The tendencies of the mind, the proclivities which are latent or in a potential form in the mind. And at the proper time, when the very helpful, favorable conditions in the environmental conditions are created here in the world, that very latent impression comes to the surface in the form of a powerful desire, and that prompts you again into action. So this is how, like the dog trying to catch its tail, we are going about through the vicious circle of repeated births and deaths. This is called samsara, transmigratory existence, samsara. But this can be removed, got rid of very easily when you go to the vidya swarupa, the self-knowledge. Then avidya goes out. And the moment avidya goes out of existence, no samsara, this thing, you have got rid of the samsara and all the problems of life. Then further, must there be removed before self-realization? Naturally, it goes, self-realization means getting rid of all these false appearances.
Right.
You must never give that same stamp of reality as you give to the self, to anything, from the ego or the mind.
You see, during the time I spent with Punjaji,
Yes.
there was a number of people, quite a lot of people I can say,
Yes.
who in his presence had a very strong awakening to the self.
Yes.
And he would say, your work is finished. They would be glowing in bliss, and they would feel their work was finished. Then they would leave maybe they would go away for some months, or then when they came back,
Yes.
a lot of those people would say, it's gone. And often Punjaji would say, if it's gone, then it never, you never found it in the beginning. You never found it in the beginning. And at the same time, I can remember Ramana saying that in the case of people with strong vasanas,
Yes.
those vasanas will pull you out of that awakening, that understanding. Could you comment on that?
You see, this is totally different from Vedantic treatment. And we won't approve of this.
Right.
You see, I will tell you one thing. There are many people who talk in terms of Shaktipada. Have you heard of it?
Yes, a kind of transmission of energy.
This is, Vedanta never approves of that. These things cannot be transferred from one person to another. If at all you talk in terms of transfer, it is the Guru telling you to find it in yourself. There is no transfer. So there is this Shaktipata is a misnomer and totally wrong. It is never taught in the Upanishads. And I don't know why Punjaji and all these people, how they have got this, this miracle mongering or mysticism is not Vedanta. Vedanta doesn't approve of any mysticism. There are many mystics.
I didn't experience Punjaji doing any kind of mystic things. He would simply sit there, you would come and ask him a question.
Actually, it is something, some sort of a power being, you're using it, with people who are around you. I have seen at least 3-4 people of that type who belong to the Nath Pantha, the Maharashtrian saints. People in their presence used to laugh all the time, dance, and cry also. And they thought this is self-realization. No. It has nothing to do with self-realization. It is actually totally navidya. So this cannot be the yardstick for this thing. Another thing I would like to tell you, self-knowledge doesn't need any experience, certificate of any mystic. In fact, it will throw him out. Don't do it, overdo it, because that's not the purpose for which I have created all these scriptures and all that. Upanishads are supposed to be of divine origin in the mantra rupa. They were heard by these rishis, they became the medium through which they heard and articulated it. They gave it to the world. So naturally, it is the divinity itself, that is called the Upanishad Purusha, the self. It is to be known only through the Upanishads, nothing else. So if this is, what Shankara teaches us and Vedanta teaches, these people cannot be, at least I won't trust them. There's no need for trusting these people. There's no such thing, an experience which can be talked in terms of universal experiences. So Vedanta talks in terms of universal.
Surely, I understand what you're saying in one way, but surely if the ripe student, the seeker is ripe, he comes to a master, and this master turns the thing around back to that student with a certain force in that moment, then surely it's possible that is the moment that the student finally sees the truth.
You see, it is
and
not.
There's no magic in it.
No, I don't agree with that, because it is there in him. There is not to be, nothing is given by the Guru to him afresh.
No, nothing is given, but just by the Guru's presence, there is a kind of end,
In that
There's
case,
a kind of finality.
All right. In that case, the moment we know the self, we have got, let us say, I have gained self-knowledge at this moment. There must be something like this. And then I hear Omkara everywhere. I see light, brilliant light everywhere. I don't see anything, no world at all. Nothing of that kind. If that was so, Shankara would have mentioned it somewhere. Upanishads would have mentioned.
Well, for example, in the Zen tradition, Japanese Zen tradition, it's a kind of respected tradition. There's a whole history of stories of masters who in a certain moment touch the student in some way, and the student wakes up. And this is similar to what I'm describing.
That is borrowed from there only, and Shaktipata was introduced here. But we don't, you see, anything that is created afresh, it means it is created in time. And it will go out of existence. After some time it goes out. But the self-knowledge is not of that kind. It is beyond time, space and causation. It is neither a cause nor an effect. A science which talks about that will not approve of this sort of transfer and this thing.
Well, I think when you use the word transfer, maybe I'm not explaining myself.
Yes.
I don't think these people experienced any transfer of energy from Punjaji to themselves, but more they experience like the end of the road. Perhaps these were mature people looking since 20 years in many places, trying to understand. And somehow in this particular man's presence, they were somehow, you can say, forced or they were taken back into their deep recess inside themselves,
Yes.
and then experienced the self.
You see, I can accept that in a particular bit, in a qualified manner. Let us put it this way. The adept teacher invokes, kindles that, self-knowledge in him. But when the self-knowledge is attained, he realizes, that's called self-realization, isn't it? When he realizes that self, should there be any sort of a superhuman, symbol that is occurring in him? Many people say, I hear Omkara everywhere. I see brilliant light everywhere. Nothing of that kind. If it was true, they have used one word instead of this. They have used one word in Vedanta. He will get Sarvatma Bhava. Sarvatma Bhava means what? Everything is nothing but Atman. And Ramana had that. We can't doubt it. He had that Sarvatma Bhava. For that very reason, his blank outlook. He was completely identified with the self. From there he was looking, and he had separated the self from the not self. Unless you do that, you can't have that blind look. He was identified at that moment, and all the time he was not looking anywhere nor registering any experience of the triad.
Okay, so I would like to tell you my own personal experience, because I had also this experience with Punjaji.
Yes.
And it was a kind of finality, there was a kind of finality, after more than 20 years of searching, doing sadhana and so on, suddenly sitting in front of this man who had a tremendous energy and was the focus of, 100, 200 people, and just sitting there, he talked to me personally in a way that seemed to turn all the energy back inside me. Okay, so I didn't feel any transmission from him, but something occurred inside, and I found myself sitting with the closed eyes, and when I looked inside, there was a kind of whiteness. So there was a kind of nothingness, but I experienced it as a whiteness. And then I suddenly discovered I couldn't open my eyes. They physically wouldn't open. So I was kind of transfixed, you can say, in that place. And then after some time, I don't know what time it was, but some minutes, I could hear his voice, and somehow his voice was inquiring, what's happening or something like this. And all I could say is white or whiteness. And this continued actually for a long time, and during the course of this maybe 20 or 30 minutes, I experienced inside myself a kind of spiraling down into a huge void, into a kind of black void. And there was there was tremendous fear as I spiraled down into this void. And externally, my body was kind of twisting and doing strange things, And from the outside, I was told later, it looked quite strange. The whole thing looked quite strange, But then, at the end of all of this, when I'd been given some water and was just resting, there was tremendous bliss. There was no John David. There was no mind. There was a tremendous expansion of consciousness. Right? So that was somehow what I personally experienced.
No, everybody, if supposing everybody talks, personally like this. In Vedanta, we dismiss these things as not universal experiences, individualistic.
Right.
So naturally, in Vedanta, we dismiss all these things. Why? I will tell you something. People who have done upasana, upasanas are meditations, which are mentioned in the scriptures, Upanishads. You perform them as they are given to you, to the letter, very carefully, you get such mystic powers, and each one has a different kind of this experience. It's an experience. Upasana gives rise to certain mystic experiences which are mentioned in the Upanishads. We are not talking about that. And that is not, it is individualistic. It's a sign that you are on the right way. It says, it is a certificate that you are following you're getting, your mind clarified and all that sort. But upasanas are not the ultimate. The upasanas can never give you the ultimate. You have to come to gnana only, which is intuitive. And intuitive experience of the self is based on universal experiences like the waking, dream and deep sleep. And waking, dream and why deep sleep itself is, self-realization. Why go far? There is no white light, nothing of the kind. And deep sleep is an experience which is experienced by everybody. And in deep sleep, pure consciousness is in its purest form, not having any superimposition nor any projection. That is taught by the Upanishads. Why not accept it? It is based on universal experiences. You can never deny that.
But why would I deny my own personal experience?
You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Why would I deny that? Because
see, the point is, many people have followed Punjaji, many people have followed others. They have got all sorts of, brilliant experiences and all. They can follow, pursue. Nobody can, prevent you from not pursuing that. But that is not Vedantic self-realization. This much can be said. Self-realization is a thing which is not to be got afresh, first and foremost. Secondly, it happens to be the very core of our being, whether we know it or not. There is no choice for you. And hence, in that light, it is destiny. We are destined to be one with it. From that point of view, you can call it destiny. You are destined to be that only.
But since that time, it has been there, as a kind of ground, I can say.
Yeah.
So I've always considered that is the ground of being, that was always there, the self.
Maybe,
and from that moment, it seemed as if that was, if you like, thrusting me deeply into that ocean of self.
Yes.
From which I have never left, because from one day to the next, also all the questions had gone.
Supposing, the self-realized person talks the same language. The moment I got jnana, from that time onwards, my identification with the ego is minimized. I don't seek anything. There is nothing, no purpose in having anything. He talks the language of a sannyasi. Tyaga buddhi. What is, he has renounced everything. All of duality. He doesn't possess even the body now. And he is, in fact, the fear of, the greatest fear that one can have is the fear of death. He has already gone beyond death. So he is not afraid of, he can say, death, you can come and, take away this body. I have already discarded it.
That's also my situation.
Naturally, many people have got it. But they didn't have this special this thing, that you had. So this is the thing which is more important than all those things. And the light and other things, there are, have you heard of these Punjabi, these Sindhis follow some, what is it called? Some sang they call it. And they,
I mean, I should just be clear. I never considered that actual experience of light and expansion. I never considered that in itself important or something like that. Yeah.
But if it has led you to this thing, okay, accept it. You see, but one thing is
the thing that seemed to be important was a kind of entrance into the ground of being, which is never left.
That is more important.
Which is never left.
Yes, it will never leave. That's why in Vedanta...
I mean, it never came and it never left.
Yes, it was never there.
It was always there. And
no. This was always there. The duality and the other things were, in which I believe to be true, They were never there. It is just like I
Well, they
told
seem
you.
to be there.
Yes, sir.
But in that
They
moment,
seem to be there.
Yes.
But they were never there.
Right. But the thing that changed in that moment was a clear knowing of the ground of being. And that was the thing in that moment that changed everything and made it that there were no questions. After that, there were no questions because there was a knowing of the ground of being which the knowing hadn't been there before, but has been there ever since.
Yes, correct. But then one thing is there. Knowing the self is not, the usual knowing by the intellect. That's not knowing what we say.
But it wasn't by the intellect.
No. Knowing, you can never know the self that way as an object. It can never become the object. Self can, at best, in this Brahma Sutra, at one particular place, Brihadaranyaka, what is his name? Badarayana, the Sutrakara, says the Chidatmake, Chit Swarupa, that is the self, pure consciousness, at best can become the subject in the form of the ego, which goes to show the concession that the Upanishads give to us is the Sakshi Chaitanya coming in the form of the ego. Beyond that, it will never become, it is aprameya. That means, it can never become an object. But at best it can become the amprate gocharaha and, vishayini. Vishayini means subject. And a subject which is conscious of the object. That's all. It can never be made the object. So naturally, even, you can, I have told you previously, I itself, in its own realm, can never be objectified by anything else. The only thing that can objectify the ego is the Sakshi Chaitanya. That we take later. But in the dual sphere of duality, ego can never be objectified. It is the subject. It will remain like that. For that very reason, the ego, the subjective consciousness in me, I can never give it up, jump out of it and become the yushmat, become the object. I can always remain the source of awareness, in the duality sphere. I know everything else. But that ego, such a powerful ego, though it is, in the presence of the self, it is a, sort of a misconception. It never existed apart from this. So in a manner of speaking, Upanishads teach us the self itself appears as the ego. And when the ego seeks its source, that is called self-realization. That's all. And self-realization doesn't mean self is objectified, experienced, nothing of that. You remain as the self. Just as, let us take, at this level, are you aware of the self, the ego? Supposing we put that question to ourselves, are we aware of the ego? What will be the answer? In the sphere of duality, ego is the basic focal point on which all duality is mounted, I said, superimposed. Now, ego itself, is it self-aware? Yes. It is established, and it can never give up its self-awareness. Very much true. In the world of duality, self can never be objectified by anything else. Hence, it has the stamp of certainty. Though it is a misconception, mind you. Wonderful. This is something fantastic. The ego itself, in the sphere of duality, it has the stamp of reality. There is nothing, it doesn't need any, certificate of being real. But yet, from the viewpoint of the Sakshi Chaitanya, the pure consciousness, it was a misconception all through, which was superimposed and it was projected by this only. So it's a sort of, the self trying to, show its excellences, how it can project the world through the ego and again take it back. So there is also in Gita, it is his Leela. Self, the Paramatman, the God, it is his Leela. That means, sport, pastime. He's doing this all the moment. Should he create the world, then enter into the world? Is it true? It is given in the form of a story, but it is not true that way. So naturally, these are all pretexts for the teacher as well as the scriptures to turn our attention towards the absolute reality. That's all. Nothing else.
Okay. At the end of his book, Self-Inquiry, Ramana says, he who is thus endowed with a mind that has become subtle and who has the experience of the self is called a Jivan Mukta.
Yes, this can be approved of.
Yeah.
I mean, this kind of a, subtle mind.
Yeah.
The mind has become one with the ultimate reality. You can call it as, a susamskruta manaha.
Can you say that?
There is an expression in Vedanta, Shastra means scriptures, Acharya, the preceptor who knows the traditional method, Shastra Acharya Upadesha, spiritual instructions, like, given by him, Acharya Upadesha Janita, because as a result of the, those instructions, something is born in him. Upadesha Janita Susomskritama. There is some sort of a refinement in the mind, which happened in your case, in front of Punjaji, whatever you say. So naturally, that samskara, that is, because of these instructions about the self, he knows. He uses the method of superimposition, recession, then deliberate superimposition, recession and all that. And ultimately, when that mind becomes susamskrita, refined by these teachings, it becomes a no mind at all. It merges in its very source. So that way, this can be interpreted. He is a Jivan Mukta, person who has established himself in the Sakshi Chaitanya, although he is in the body. He feels he is no more embodied. Just like he is one with the self, not with this self. This self has been sublated, falsified. And even if he carries out any transactions through this ego, it is fully, he knows that I am using it as an actor. Natavata, Nata means, an actor. He is acting, the Jivan Mukta is acting as an actor, wearing the role of this small self, ego. And he knows, I have nothing to gain here. I have to keep this body, going as long as it can, because prarabdha vashat, it has taken a shape and, let it go. As long as it, lives, let it live. Krishna also in Gita says to Arjuna, don't harm this body, because this vehicle helped you to come to this stage. It has helped you. It has become a medium for you to achieve this wisdom and so many other, arts and all that. And don't now your job is done, so throw it out. Don't do that. Let it of its own accord fall off.
And when one is immersed in the ocean of bliss and has become one with it, without any differentiated existence, one is called a Viha Mukta. It is the state of Viha Mukta.
Videha Mukta.
Videha
means without the body, he has become Mukta.
Right.
You see, with the body, Mukta, Jivan Mukta. Videha Kaivalya, Videha Mukta means, after giving up the body, he becomes one with the ultimate.
I see. So
this is a thing which is not accepted by Vedanta. And if it is said by Ramana, he is going against the Upanishads.
Right.
Videha Kaivalya is not at all taught by Vedanta, Upanishads. This is a thing which is introduced by the people who came much after Shankara. And Shankara has, refuted this, Videha Kaivalya.
So this is suggesting that at the time of dropping the mortal coil,
Yes.
you can achieve Jivan Mukta in that moment. Is that what it's saying?
No.
No.
Jivan Mukta is a thing, which is while in the body,
While in the body.
at any time.
Right. But when
You have realized the body may continue, but you are not identified with the body.
Right.
You have identified with the self, and you have separated the not self, the body, and the reality of the consciousness. So you are established in the reality. Now he is a Jivan Mukta because he has known the Mukta Swarupa. That means the essential nature of liberation, freedom, and that is called the self.
All right.
Mukta Swarupa. And while in this body itself, he has realized that. But Videha Kaivalya is not taught in the Upanishads.
Okay. It appears essential to meet a guru and stay with that guru. Who is the guru?
A guru, as I told you earlier, according to the Mundaka Upanishad, which is meant for the sannyasins. Mundaka means, a shaven head. So naturally it signifies it is meant for the sannyasins. So the sannyasins are told, there it comes in a particular context. The guru you must find who is a Shrotriya and a Brahmanishta, which I have already said. Shrotriya means he must be well versed in the traditional method of teaching, which is implicit in the Shrutis. Then Brahmanishta means he must be established in the ultimate reality. So that is the qualification of a.
And what is the guru's role? What is the guru's job? What is his job?
Guru's role. Guru's role is only to teach him, the methods, how to, give up his identification with the ego, the embodied this thing, and realize his real essential nature. That is his role. What he does is, he has studied, the Shastras, the method. He has been taught by his guru. So he was also one time a student. Then he remembers all the impediments, the difficulties that are experienced by the students, and how he got rid of all his doubts. Same way, he is in a position of the guru, and he teaches the student according to that method, and the student also is again, one light kindling another light. So this goes on in a series. So that is the guru's role.
And how to recognize a true guru?
See, unless, as I told you in the morning, unless you come very close with the, in close contact with the guru, how he behaves, what he says, what he teaches, how he, practices himself, all those precepts, which he has taught you, how he himself follows. Supposing, he gets up early in the morning and does some meditation. You are at liberty to ask him, sir, what is that meditation you perform? Can I do it? If he says, you are fit for that, do it along with me. So he is a guide in every respect. He makes this student go through the, all the necessary steps to achieve the same result that he has achieved. He has followed that path. He has become a teacher now, just like, a professor who has undergone some training and all that. Now he is in a position to teach other students. But was he not a student? Same way here. He was a student. And from the guru he learned this vidya. And then he is now in a position, he is so adept, his expertise is such that he can part with that knowledge and give it to another person. So that is the role of a guru. And he has to, without any reservation, inhibitions, he should not keep any secret. He should be open in his this thing, and any question that the Shishya asks, he must very willingly, lovingly, compassionately teach him everything, not keep away any secret from him. That sort of a guru is a true guru.
Ramana's devotees had tremendous devotion to him and he to Arunachala.
Yes.
Please say something about bhakti, devotion, in the pursuit of awakening.
Bhakti, is devotion, the word, which is the equivalent of bhakti, which is a Sanskrit word. Devotion always implies devotion to something, towards something. So you are a devotee, there is a deity, there is a God with some form and all that. So naturally you devote all your time and you invoke his blessings, you invoke him, and you want his grace to flow towards you, and you are asking for something. Bhakti is always towards a deity who is in a position to grant something that you desire. So bhakti is definitely, in Vedanta, bhakti is equated with upasana. So naturally, upasana comes in the, dharma jignasa, or within the purview of the kartru. So naturally, bhakti is quite different from jnana, which is intuitive, not a product of anything. And
would you say that the bhakti, it's important that the bhakti is entwined with the jnana towards the teacher, for example?
Naturally. It can be towards, a teacher who teaches you this vidya or any other vidya, or a deity who is supposed to be, you undergo certain, you perform certain rituals.
Could you say that it's a necessary attitude towards your guru, this devotion?
You see, instead of saying necessary attitude, from birth, we are devotees. Bhakti, belief in something, is natural in man. You see, and that's why it is called in the, Vedantic terminology, he is an avidyavanta. Bhakti is within the purview of the kartru. He can do bhakti, he need not do bhakti. So naturally, bhakti is something which is within your control. You can do bhakti, you need not do bhakti. You may do it in a different way than it is mentioned in the Shastra. But jnana is not like that. So that is the difference between bhakti and jnana. And upasana is a word which is referred to jnana also. That is also another confusion that has been created. So naturally bhakti is taught in Gita, and it is, worshipping the God, seeking his grace and all that. So that you
when
do.
You say God, it can be the guru.
Pardon?
It can be the guru's grace, not the God. Without making it into the God,
Naturally,
it can be towards the guru.
we have got a sloka, if you know. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. That's the prayer we recite before we start any class. So Guru Brahma, Guru himself is the ultimate reality.
Right.
Look at how it is, Guru's position is, eulogized. It is praised to such an extent. Guru himself is the living God before me.
Right.
You must have that much faith in him. You see, the Guru-Shishya relationship is such. Supposing the Shishya doesn't have any trust in the Guru, the Vidya that he gets will be of no consequence.
Right.
And the Guru does it also with some desire to,
So in fact, bhakti is an essential part.
yes, very essential part.
Right.
And this is common, man by nature has some devotion in something. He has devotion towards his parents, devotion towards his teacher, devotion towards his, guru or a deity, as the scriptures and priests tell you. You invoke the blessings of this deity, you will get this.
Yeah.
So like that, all these things are happening.
Right.
But the guru must be of such a nature that he must be trustworthy,
Right.
and he should not cheat the student.
Right. seekers often have curious ideas about the enlightened state. For example, that he sees the world as a grey nothing while sitting in eternal bliss.
Yes.
Please describe your typical day and how you perceive the world, Mr. Gangolli.
You see, this is
It's a funny
mentioned
question.
within-
Yeah?
yes,
It's a funny question, but
which you also mentioned, I saw white and all that.
yeah.
See, I feel, and I have read enough of Shankara Bhashya and our Swamiji's explanations and all that. When you get this, the seeker gets the final knowledge of the self. There is no change excepting his identification is shifted from the ego to the self. Now he knows the reality. Formerly he was thinking something to be real which was not real. Hence it was a misconception. Now he has got conviction, this is the reality. And this reality can never go out of existence. It is eternal, non-dual, beyond time, space, causation, beyond dharma and adharma, merits and demerits, all the things that are mentioned in the Shastra. Earlier, as religious duties and all that, it is something, which he can never think of, going out of existence. I mean, it can never go out of existence. It is the reality, one reality. Yet, we don't call it as one, non-dual we say, absolute, eternal. And eternal means a word also not long in time. It is beyond time, space and causation. That is the...
So in your typical day, there's no special fireworks at all, yeah?
No.
But there is a
I can put it this way, when you become a gnani, his perspective changes. There is a sea change in his perspective. He is not to be found behaving as the others. He is not seeking the society, the company of people. He doesn't go to any society and and always seeking the company of some people. If at all he seeks the company, it is like-minded people or the shishyas. Otherwise, he is unto himself by himself. He seeks solitude. That's a symptom even in a mumukshu. Even when he has not become a Jivan Mukta, even when he has adopted the third and fourth, ashramas, that is mumukshu ashrama sannyasa, vanaprastha ashrama and the sannyasa, even at that time he seeks solitude. And what does he do during the solitude? He thinks and always, turning the mind towards the ultimate reality.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the thing.
You've given us a profound discourse on awakening. When you would meet someone with a passion for awakening, what would your short advice be? Just a couple of sentences.
What would your short advice be? See, passion is a thing, which he is a true seeker. He is very much devoted. He is prepared to give up all else but this one knowledge. In other words, his qualification is such, he is not like the others. He seeks this and this alone. So naturally to such a person, we have to tell him, seek it from a guru who is a Shrotriya Brahmanistha. And your, success will be very fast, it will be a shortcut to success, sort of. If he goes from teacher to teacher, keeps on like that, he will be sort of a rolling stone, gathering no mass. But he must find a Shrotriya Brahmanistha and find for himself, and trust him and get all the experiences here and now. He can experience those things himself.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else you would wish to add to this dialogue?
I would like to add only one thing, a person who is a true seeker, the earlier 12th question. If we are students or seekers, it's better to take the position of a true seeker, go to, approach, be in search of a, Shrotriya Brahmanishta, and from close contact you can make out if your caliber is good, you are really devoted, and you have studied something earlier. And if you approach a person who is really a Shrotriya Brahmanishta, he teaches this is the correct method. And there is no question, there need not be any doubt that he will definitely deliver the goods, bring you that sense of conviction, after which you will never, waver, and you will never get any doubts also. That was the case, in my case, when I saw this teacher, I got it. I am convinced. And I need not seek anybody else's advice also. In fact, a stage has come when I can give advice to others. So such a powerful personality I came across. I was lucky. So this is what I would like to add.
Thank you. I seem to have managed to bring you to tears a few times today.
I don't know, you see, it happens so quickly, I can't have a control over it.
Right.
What I do is, try to control it by holding the breath and all that.
But you don't have to.
It is
control.
coming with a, avalanche.
Yeah, I understand.
It overtakes me.
Yeah.
Because I had done a lot of bhakti. I used to cry like a child.
Right, right.
I
have an expression, that these tears are the tears
of
joy, actually.
joy, not
They're not the tears of unhappy, they're the tears of joy,
Yes.
which is the language of the self.
you can say
These
that.
are the tears of the self.